January 30th, 1933. Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany. An event that would have gigantic repercussions on the rest of history and directly lead to the Second World War. So this raised the obvious question: how? How did Hitler and the Nazis come to take over Germany? Well, that's what we'll try to answer in this video. At the end of the First World War, the German Empire fell apart and a republic was proclaimed in Germany, the Weimar Republic. And you may be thinking, well, that's great news, right? Well, not so fast. The new republic, led by this man, quickly found itself with quite a few problems on its hands, starting with the Treaty of Versailles. Following their victory in the First World War, the Allies imposed harsh terms on Germany, which included the country losing 13% of its territory, having to disarm, and, maybe more importantly, Germany having to pay reparations to the victors. The Treaty of Versailles was obviously very unpopular among the German population and put a heavy burden on the German economy. So much so that, very quickly, the Germans started having trouble paying the reparations imposed by the Treaty of Versailles, which led to this reaction from the French. Wow, what a shame. Would be really sad if someone took away your coal mines to make up for that. And then, that's what the French did. In 1923, the French and the Belgians entered Germany with their troops and began occupying this region, taking over Germany's coal mines. This was really bad publicity for the German government. By allowing this to happen, it appeared weak. And tired of seeing their country being humiliated over and over again, led to many Germans turning to extremism, especially to the cool new ideology in town at the time, communism. Post-World War I Germany was home to a lot of political violence, with far-left and far-right groups causing mayhem in the country. The German government was especially annoyed by the communists, because they kept trying to rise up and turn the country into a Soviet republic. But the real threat would actually come from a much smaller political party, from Munich. The DAP, or German Workers' Party, was created in Munich in 1919. The small, far-right party believed that the Treaty of Versailles was a disgrace, blamed the Jews for Germany's defeat in the First World War, and hated the communists more than anyone else in this world. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's Hitler time. Adolf Hitler, this little guy, had led quite a boring life up until that point, having failed to become an artist and having fought, like most men in Europe, in the First World War. So, by 1919, Hitler was still in the military and was given a very simple mission by the army: spy on the DAP. And so, that's what he did. But funnily enough, Hitler actually liked what these guys were onto and decided to join the party. Thanks to his oratory skills, Hitler quickly rose through the ranks to become the leader of the party and would change its name to NSDAP, or National Socialist German Workers' Party, more commonly known as the Nazi Party. He would also draw a really cool flag for the party that I can't really show you here. So, here's a pretzel, and the small party quickly started growing in size. At the same time, in Italy, Benito Mussolini, a small man with the bald head, somehow managed to take power in the country by marching on the capital, Rome, and staging a coup. Could you imagine if that gave Hitler some ideas? And then, that gave Hitler some ideas. In 1923, Hitler and some 2,000 Nazis staged a coup in Munich to try to take power in Germany. But there were a few problems with Hitler's plan. The main one being, what the hell was he doing in Munich? With Hitler attempting a coup 300 miles away from the capital, and the army siding with the government, Hitler's insurrection ended up being a pretty embarrassing failure, and Hitler was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He would actually only serve 9 months in prison, and used his time to write a book outlining his future plans, called Mein Kampf. And so, it quickly became clear that Hitler was planning a political comeback. After his failed coup attempts, Hitler took a moment to think and came to the conclusion that, yes, it had been, in fact, a failure. Great analysis, Hitler, and it was now increasingly clear to him that if he wanted to rule Germany, he would have to be elected by the German people. And one crisis would give him the opportunity of a lifetime. In 1929, the global economy crashed, plunging the whole world into a massive depression. And not this kind of depression, this kind. The Germans were still paying reparations for the First World War, soon found themselves squeezed, with foreign investors running away from the country, and inflation eating away their purchasing power. The situation got so bad that by 1933, a third of Germany's working population was out of work. And now, imagine this. You're the average German person in the 1930s, struggling to get by, when one day you come across this guy who's yelling at you from across the street. What's he saying? Well, he's got an answer to all your problems, of course. And if you vote for him, he promises he's going to fix everything. Would you believe him? Well, you can't really pay for bread anymore. Why not giving him a shot? And in their desperation, the Germans started voting in large numbers for the Nazis. At the time of the economic crash, the Nazis only held 12 seats in the German parliament. In 1930, that number grew to 107, and in 1933, the Nazis gained 288 seats in the Reichstag, becoming the #1 party in Germany. Hitler's plan had worked, and he was named Chancellor of Germany on the 30th of January, 1933. Now, it may come to you as a surprise that Hitler wasn't the biggest fan of democracy. Yeah, who would have thought? And as soon as he got what he wanted, he began working on getting rid of that whole system. And that's when this happened. On the 27th of February 1933, the Reichstag, the German parliament, caught fire in the middle of the night, which led to this reaction from Hitler. Wow, why would the communists do this? So mean. And using the threat of an incoming communist uprising, Hitler and the Nazis completely took control of the country. Political parties, such as the communists, were banned, and their members sent to concentration camps. Most civil liberties, such as freedom of speech or freedom of the press, were suspended, and the Enabling Act gave Hitler the power to make and enforce laws without the approval of the German parliament. And you may be thinking, what does it matter? The parliament's just been burned down anyway. Well, it matters a lot, as this is essentially the moment Hitler became a dictator. By taking control of the educational system, the radios, the newspapers, the Nazis were quickly able to turn the whole German population into a bunch of Nazi puppets, which would give us these insane pictures that look like they come straight out of a sci-fi movie. This was an especially bad time to be an ethnic minority in Germany, with, for example, the Jews being forced out of their homes and parked into ghettos or concentration camps. Germany also began flexing its muscles again on the international stage, throwing the Treaty of Versailles in the trash, rebuilding its army, and invading Austria and parts of Czechoslovakia. And on the 1st of September 1939, Germany would kick off the greatest military conflict in human history by invading Poland. But that's a story for another time.